Hi there guys, my name is Jenna Calhoun and today I'm going to talk to you about communication accommodation theory out of chapter 9. So communication accommodation theory is an interpersonal communication perspective that examines the processes by which individuals adapt their communication behaviors to others or accommodate them and the consequences of accommodation on subsequent communication. The theory is guided by the insight that communicators sometimes adapt their behaviors towards others, as when a speaker slows down when talking to an older person or possibly speaking louder, thinking that an older person can't hear as well. So I've experienced communication accommodation theory in my work at Red Robin as a waitress when I'm constantly communicating with customers, my fellow employees, and my bosses. And living in San Antonio and working here, it provides a very diverse population, which also brings different languages such as Spanish that I encounter on a daily basis. And so when I have a customer that does not speak fluent English, the communication between the customer and I can become difficult. So I have to find ways to successfully communicate with them to ensure I order them the correct food and drinks and everything that they would like that day. I take part in communication accommodation theory when I try to speak the little Spanish that I do know, just to make them comfortable and enjoy their overall experience and not have to worry about that language barrier as much. And I have noticed that when I serve someone that's not fluent in English, I use a lot more facial expressions and I smile a lot more. And I also use the menu and the pictures in it more than I do with English speakers, just to again ensure that they understand what they're getting and just to ensure that I don't make mistakes on their order. Although these situations can be awkward at times for me because I'm not comfortable with the Spanish that I do speak, I know that the fact that these conversations are difficult to navigate, for everyone, I try to do my best to truly accommodate them and make sure that they have the best experience possible because that's my job. So now that I've discussed the experiences, I'll now make some inferences. I think communication accommodation theory is so useful and so practical in everyday life in so many different various ways. And whether it's a language barrier like at my work, or we overhear someone accommodate an elderly person because they are talking louder than normal because they think that they can't hear, it's all around us. Also, I think the communication accommodation theory is really interesting because I don't think that most people actively think about how they accommodate people in different ways through communication, but they tend to do it quite a bit, again, whether they realize it or not. So through this experience, I learned that I accommodate people very often in my everyday life, not just at work, but in different situations, and I wasn't aware of that before this assignment. And emotions play a part in this situation because I get nervous and uncomfortable and worried that I won't be able to accommodate them and provide them with a great experience at the restaurant, or that I would offend someone in any other situation or at the restaurant. So it just gets a lot of awkward emotions. So now that I've made a couple inferences, I'll talk about how these can be transferred to another situation. And that situation would be when people talk to babies. It's really common for people to talk in baby talk to accommodate a baby because they don't have the language skills or communication skills that we do as adults. And so a lot of the times they'll talk like goo goo gaga and mimic the noises that babies make rather than speaking full sentences like they would to another adult. Kind of like we naturally accommodate older people, we accommodate babies as well. So I think that this information can be used to make sure that we don't over accommodate people and that we can be more aware and conscious when we are accommodating so we don't offend people, and when we can recognize situations where accommodation can come in handy and really help the whole situation out. And I think that this theory can be generalized to almost every part of our life because we're constantly communicating with others and adjusting our communication behaviors to whatever given situation that we're in. And so communication accommodation theory can be seen in many different ways and aspects in our daily lives. So in conclusion, the information that the text provided about the communication accommodation theory informed us how we can be more aware and conscious communicators and how we can avoid situations that we could be offensive, and we can know how to properly use accommodation with situations that it's necessary. And now that we have this knowledge, we can act accordingly and respectful in situations and just truly help the communication go along. And we're more educated on the subject, we can be accommodating when it is necessary. As stated by Tony Robbins, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. Thanks.